Okay, so thanks for joining us, Marco. Why don't you give us a quick introduction of who you are and where you work, and
Sure.
how you've been working with Parting Pro. Yeah.
Okay. So I work over at Max Sass Funeral Home in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and we operate Cremation Society of Milwaukee, Waukesha, and Madison.
Hmm.
And those are all done mainly online for families.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. So let's start from the beginning because we've probably been working together for probably we say over a year now, almost a year.
no, I think November, October will be a year.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So why don't you explain to us like what you were doing, your day-to-day process before leveraging Parting Pro? Like what were you trying to accomplish? What kind of issues were arising, and where your
hmm
frustrations were?
Sure. So previously we had our own website that was run by a different company,
Uh,
and it just wasn't as intuitive for families. So there'd be a lot more problems of people just getting through the steps in order to submit the forms.
hmm.
And so we couldn't really pull those things up either, like you can with Parting Pro. So that took a little bit longer. But then also the cremation authorizations need to be printed out by the family and then physically signed, and then they would either have to scan them or fax them back. And that would be difficult as well because a lot of family members are elderly and things like that. Um, and then it was just a lot of follow up on the phone, asking people to check their email or check their spam folder and things like that. So a lot of that's changed in November, and it worked out really well too that we were set up and running before all the coronavirus stuff happened too, because with your guys' system that definitely helps a lot. A lot.
Oh, right. Yeah. So how long would you say you were spending on doing all the paperwork if you were to average
I
out
would
like?
probably say we probably spent about in maybe an hour to 2 hours a day, probably just with real minor phone calls that could have been resolved probably a lot quicker, and they are resolved a lot quicker right now.
Mm.
But uh, yeah, I would say probably maybe about an hour to 2 hours a day, just following up with families, seeing if they had cremation authorizations, or telling them to check this page again because this part wasn't signed, or something like that.
Gotcha. Okay. So it sounds like it was a lot of just back and forth on, little things.
Yeah,
And yeah.
it ate into the time too that we could be on phone with other family members or talk to people about prices or just get stuff done for cremation permits, things like that.
Yeah. And if I remember correctly, were you guys doing a lot of like transposing of information as well?
Yep, yeah, so we were using the folders to write everything down from what the family printed out online, and then we'd enter it into one system, and then into the state vital record system for the death certificate as well. So it was a lot of duplication of writing and things like that.
Okay, got it. Thanks. So I guess now you've been using Parting Pro for several months now, probably over almost a year. Like how would you say your day to day has changed, and how has your business improved from doing so?
It's a lot simpler. Even just like before I even start working, let's say if
Hmm.
it's my weekend off or it was my night off or something, the emails come through, but it's not like a bombardment, and I can easily tell if it's a new case or if it's somebody that paid something. So I can always like just star those emails, and then usually that's kind of how I start my day. Is I'll just check the ones that came in through overnight and just sort them whether they need to be archived or if they're active cases, things like that. And the other nice thing about it too is if it's the evening or something like that, I can still send off the forms, the authorization, the vitals, all of that. Um, but it's just a lot simpler now. When we go on, you can see all the new cases that came through, and you can match them up with the phone calls from the night before. And if there's somebody that went online and they happen to not call or something like that, you would know, right away. It's pretty simple.
Oh, nice. Yeah. And if you can remember, let's say last November, can you describe the process of like getting started with this? Because it was a little bit, it probably took a couple of weeks to kind of get started and get used to the new system. Can you describe that process and just kind of where you found the most value and why do you think that is?
Sure. So yeah, I think the longest part of setting up was just probably creating the actual like site the way our old forms were and things like that. And I know it took a while with the obituary thing because that was something kind of different
All
as
right.
well.
Mm-hmm.
But beyond that, actually, like getting used to it, we kind of had that one meeting talking about some of the features, and then we had like a longer meeting talking about actually how to work through everything. And Bridget and I both kind of had notes on that, and I think the first couple weeks we probably used that little chat feature quite a bit.
Yeah.
Just figuring out what's what. But that's been really nice too, because people respond usually within just a few minutes, and I've messaged even after hours and things like that, and gotten a quick response.
Okay. Yeah.
But I'm sorry, with the Parting Pro portion of it though, I'm sorry, I totally got lost. I apologize, Albert.
Oh no, that's fine. Yeah.
We were just,
So go ahead.
oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna ask, with aspect to, we're talking a lot about like how much time you saved and everything like that. Do you have any numbers off the top of your head, like if you guys gained business and how you guys, sold more merchandise, things like that, since using Party Pro?
I don't have the actual numbers off the top of my head.
Yeah.
I'd have to look at that, but I know for sure our earn sales have gone up from using the previous website as well.
Yeah.
As well as things like prayer cards, memorial videos, and then just traffic in general, especially like for the Madison area.
Yeah.
I think it's been increasing quite a bit.
Because you guys are probably getting more reviews as well, right?
Yeah.
Because we're automating the reviews for you. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's
yeah.
helpful.
So that's been helpful, especially like in the Madison area, because we were a little bit newer in that area. So that's definitely been beneficial. Because now they're almost as busy as our Milwaukee cases, and that was not the case at all before.
Gotcha. Okay. Cool. Yeah, that's good. So, I guess if someone's watching this video right now and they're kind of in your shoes, you were, let's say in November, what would you say to them to kind of push them over the edge?
I would say go for it, because the transition was very smooth. It's really intuitive to learn, and it's just as intuitive for the customers. I would definitely recommend it. It's super easy. It's easy for other people to learn, like other staff members and things like that, even if they're not very tech savvy. It's not complicated. It's not even like visually like unpleasant to, sometimes some of these programs to like enter directories, stuff like that. It can be just kind of confusing looking. This is all like really intuitively set up. So it's pretty nice.
Yeah. I feel like you and Bridget were also very, you guys were kind of like on top of things as well, so it made it really easy.
Yeah. We definitely like it a lot. I mean, just the fact that you can send a cremation authorization to somebody instantly and they can sign it without having to print it and scan it, like that alone saves us a huge amount of time.
Yeah. How much time would you say Parting Pro saves you, just you, not including Bridget, like a week, or like a given week, compared to what you're doing before?
It would have to be probably about an hour to two, like I said, at least per day.
Okay.
So I mean,
like
a substantial amount of time.
Okay.
For sure. It definitely speeds things up, and it's so nice too, because when everything started with coronavirus, we started working remotely, and it was way easier for us to transition than the rest of the funeral home, because we already had the Parting Pro stuff set up basically.
Oh right, yeah, I forgot to talk about that. So the whole coronavirus thing is kind of still going on, but you guys were still meeting people in person pretty frequently before, or not so much?
With Parting Pro, maybe I would meet with families maybe like once every 2 weeks or so. There'd be a family that wanted to meet, and then it definitely dipped down during coronavirus. But I think one of the reasons our traffic picked up too is families, they're kind of positioned where they could either do cremation or direct burial.
Yeah.
A lot of families are going with cremation, that way they can do a memorial service later.
Right.
And, I think one of the reasons we really spiked in, I think it was end of March or early April, was just because so many people can just order it right online. And if you want to, they can have it mailed directly to their house. They don't have to go anywhere, and it's a lot simpler.
Cool. All right, awesome. And I guess my last question would be, like, is there anything that you could find us improving on?
There's just a couple things with the website, like just little goofy things, but I feel like they could be fixed with like future, like a version 1.0 or whatever it is, or whatever. But like if the family enters the email address incorrectly when they first go through the whole case, then there's no good way to like just edit the email and then resend the forms to them. You have to like kind of like delete it and then I usually like print it out and then I re-enter it, which is fine, but it's not nearly as time consuming as the previous program. But other than that, not that I can think of. It would be nice maybe if in the future for the vitals, if like there was a thing where the family sends it through and then we can edit it and then send it back to them Although I guess there's a document scanner, right, where we can send it.
Yeah.
You can send the forms that way too.
Yeah. Well, you can both edit the document as it's getting signed, but then afterwards we add a new feature where you can just send out the
Finalized.
finalized for approval.
Perfect.
That we released
Yeah,
that like
that'd be
last
awesome.
week or a couple weeks ago. Yeah.
Okay, that sounds good.
Cool.
But yeah, otherwise, no. I mean, everything's been really smooth. Yeah, I like it a lot.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us today.
Absolutely. Thanks,
Okay.
Albert.
Yeah.